Hey there, Python trainer Reuven Learner here, and today I want to talk to you about two ideas that people often get confused in Python, and those are immutable values versus constants. All right, so let's start with immutable values because people encounter these very often early on in their Python careers, and they're kind of confusing, and we talk about immutability way more in Python than we do in other programming languages. So if I say here s equals a, b, c, d, e, what am I doing? I'm creating a string value, a string object, and I'm assigning it to s, which basically means that s, the variable, refers to the value, refers to a, b, c, d, e, the string value. And you always have to think of assignment like this. We have a name, that's to say a variable, and it refers to a value. So can I change that value? And the answer is no, because strings are immutable. They cannot be changed. So if I say s of 0 equals exclamation point, Python says, no, you cannot do that. So what does this mean? How can we think about it? So immutable means that without assigning or reassigning to the variable s, we can change the value or the value of what it refers to. So is there any way for me to change that string such that without assigning or reassigning to s, s will now reflect a different value? And the answer is no. If I say s.upper, I get a new string back, but s remains what it was. If I say s of 2 until 4, I get a new string back, but I don't affect what was there. I have to assign to s in order to change the value that it refers to. Once I've assigned that string to s, until I reassign s, s will continue to refer to exactly that string, and that string cannot change. That's what we mean by immutable. So other immutable types in Python, right? And I'm going to leave out, well, I guess we can say like, none. It's not really a type. It's none type, right? And Booleans, which are true and false. And we can say integers and floats. And then, of course, strings. And we have tuples. And in all these cases, right? In all of these cases, once you assign a value to a variable, the variable will continue to reflect that value unchanged until you assign something new to it. So let's take a look at that in the Python tutor, one of my favorite websites, as you might know. So if I say here, s equals a, b, c, d, e, I'm going to now print the ID of s. I'm going to print the unique object ID for the string that s refers to. Note that the ID of s does not mean the ID of the variable s. It means the ID of the value that s is referring to. And now I'm going to say s equals fghij and print the ID of s. And I'm going to say s plus equals k, print the ID of s. So in each case, I'm going to say, let's assign something to s, and then let's check the ID. So I'm going to visualize this here. Oh, okay. And then I'm going to say here, next. So we see here, s, the variable, refers to the value a, b, c, d, e. And the ID of this variable, or this value, I should say, ends in 144. Very good. Now I assign a new string to s. And we see that the ID has changed. It now ends in 512. And now I say plus equals k, and so many people believe, oh, this just adds something to the string. You see, it's not immutable, but that's not true at all. Actually, what we're doing is we're creating a new string, we're assigning it to s, and that's going to give us then a new ID because it's a new different string. So we have three completely different values here assigned to s. Again, the only way that s will see a new and different value is if we assign a new value to s. Now, if we were talking about mutable values, this would be completely and utterly different. So if I say here, my list equals 10, 20, 30, and I print the ID of my list, and then I say, my list append of 40, print the ID of my list. And I'll say, my list pop, and I'll say, print ID of my list. So now let's see what happens here. I'm going to create this list. So my list refers to this list, which then refers to in turn 10, 20, and 30. I print the ID. It ends in 896. So far, so good. I append 40 to it. I've modified the list. We see it. Now the list is 10, 20, 30, 40. But the ID is the same. I now remove that 40 with pop, and the ID remains the same. Each time I modify the list, my list here refers to the same list, but the list value is changing. This is a big, big difference. Okay, so if the value changes without assignment, that's mutable. If it cannot change, that's immutable. So how is this all different from constants? And people coming from other programming languages are used to having constants. We assign something, and then we know that it will never, ever change. And that's the whole idea, well, of a constant. So a constant is a variable that once assigned can never be reassigned. Right? So if I say, for example, pi equals 3.14159, that's it. I've assigned it. This is a constant. I can never change it. If I do assign to it in my program later on, I will get an error message, or maybe in some languages, a warning of some sort. Will I get such a warning in Python? No, I will not. Absolutely positively not. And that's because, here's the big secret, Python doesn't really have constants. They are 100% a convention that we adhere to. In other words, you can and should define constants in Python, but Python constants can always be reassigned. No one will ever warn you if you reassign a constant, maybe a code checker of some sort, right? But the Python language doesn't care if you assign or reassign, just as I did here from pi to a new value of pi. But how is this different than what we're doing with what we did before with our lists and our strings? Well, here's the thing. With a constant, you cannot change this arrow, this reference. Once you assign a variable to a value, that reference remains constant. That reference remains permanent. It doesn't have anything to do with the type of data you're referring to. It's the system that won't let you assign again. But in Python, you can always assign a new value again. Now, does this mean you should not use constants? No, you should totally use constants. They're a great thing in Python. But A, you should realize that someone may at some point reassign it and they won't get any sort of warning or error. And B, understand that this is not the same as an immutable data value, right? This just means that we're all going to try to pay attention and not assign this value again to something new, but we're going to keep it, constant in our program. I hope that this was helpful and useful and gave you some insights into how the language works. I'll be back with lots more videos on pandas and Python, everything in between. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have questions or comments, leave them here. I love to respond, and I will see you real soon with more videos.